I admire Fritz Heinemann. And Fritz Heinemann had this vision of everyone's playground. And he leaned into, and he worked hard, and he rallied others and invited others, and everyone's playground became reality. It's this beautiful playground out there that makes our community so much a better place. Now, Fritz Heinemann could have leaned back and say, I enjoy retirement. I don't have to do a thing. But no, Fritz had a vision, had a dream, leaned in and made something possible. And it's not only Fritz's work, of course. It takes a community, it takes all to buy in to make it possible. And that's how I understand Abram and Sarah and Matthew and every one of us whom God calls. There is a vision for a better world. We are called to something to make a difference. And age does not matter. You don't have to be a spring chicken. Abram, Sarah, 75. It's never too late. You can make a difference. So what does it take? Think of Abram and Sarah at age 75. God says, leave your home and move toward the promised land. The dream, the vision, a better world, better community is possible. It's possible, but you gotta leave something behind. What do you have to leave behind? Is it the sense of comfort, of leaning back? Do you feel like, okay, I don't know, whatever those voices are? What do you have to let go, and where are you called to move forward and step into God's dream, into God's vision? And to do that, you got to let go of something. Maybe being too comfortable, maybe it's a spiritual move, maybe it's a mental move, maybe it's a physical move. Just moving toward the big dream, one step. One step. Every journey of 1,000 miles starts, you know it. So moving like Abram and Sarah, leaning into God's dream, each and every one of us is invited to do that in our own way. You're not too old, never too old to make a difference. And the beautiful thing about it is that with that moving, with that dream, with that hope and vision for a better world, there comes a blessing. God says to Abram, I will bless you, and you will become a blessing for others. I will bless you. In the moving, in the visioning, and so on, there is a blessing. Now, sometimes I encounter people who think like, I can't do a thing about it. They see the negative thing, they see like what is not possible, they're stuck, they're just in their own little world. What makes a difference? How do you experience, how do you go toward those blessings? And to me, it's like priming the pump. Takes a little bit of priming the pump. You do one small thing, one small blessing, and you discover when you do something for someone else, something positive comes back. Because blessings always boomerang. You benefit yourself if you help someone else, if you make a difference in others' lives. Think of all the loaves and fishes people who help. Isn't there something that's coming back? It's amazing. Think of all the people who are in a support group. They give time, energy, they're there. Makes a huge difference. The small things, and once you prime the pump, you realize it's in giving that you receive, like the prayer of St. Francis points out. And sometimes I think that needs to sink in a little bit deeper. Do that step. What holds you back? What do you have to give up to move toward God's dream? Now, Matthew, tax collector, and followers of Jesus. And this is how I imagine it. That's the difference in between having a job and having a calling. The job is for him, do the job, do it for an income, do it for a paycheck. And Alan Wetzel told the story about a guy with whom he met for coffee. He said, the other man whom Alan Wetzel knows, said, I hated every single day I had to go to work. Oh my, that's a long time. It's a long time for your whole career not to like, not to love anything about it. And the calling is when there is some of your heart, when your heart is in it, when there is energy, when there is something about God's dream in it, when there is purpose and meaning in it, when you make a difference, that's the calling. Now, hopefully in all of our lives, somehow, job and calling overlap. Hopefully. I think they rarely overlap fully. But that's where we kind of need the calling. Give you an example, and they can be both. Corey Troop says, he helps with loaves and fishes. Teacher, I think teachers, calling. It's not a job, it's a calling. He said, sometimes there are these students whom I had in middle school. They come back and they say, thank you. He touched someone's life. Now, it wasn't just the subject he taught. It was the calling the teacher of lifting someone up, being with someone who has been struggling, with someone who has been down, just seeing the good in a person and lifting them up. That's calling. And there is calling in us, no matter in which situation we are, because you can always make a difference. Give you a few examples of calling. Velvet Frazetto, we just celebrated her life. Dear, beautiful soul, Jackie Nagel's daughter. She passed away in January. One of her calling was raising butterflies. She heard that monarch butterflies are endangered, so she planted all the milkweed. She brought in supplies. She put nets around so the birds wouldn't eat up all the larvae and the caterpillars and everything. And then she released them. Thousands of butterflies. Every year she raised them. It was her calling. She was invested in it. She made a difference. Think of Marianne Britton. What a beautiful, wonderful lady. Struggling in her own life, feeling down and just wrestling with demons in her life. But what a beautiful way of making a calling to sponsor others in recovery, to support them, to lift them up, to be present, to listen, to be that group, to counsel people, be with them in the muck, and helping to lift them up, making a difference. I think of Peggy and Tom Peeler raising service dogs. It's a calling. It's not a job. It's something where you make a difference. And I'm thinking of Nancy Wagner. Nancy Wagner cannot write cards anymore. That was her calling, to write cards and notes to people she loved from the Sunday school class. She can't do it anymore. But she can call. So she picks up the phone and she calls. The last time she called Alva Deans on the phone, Alva said, "Nancy, you made my day." To what is God calling you? Where and how can you make a difference? Where and how are you called to dream God's dream? Get out of the too comfortable position and to lean in and make it happen. To what is God calling you to make this a better world?